291, Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier 2. It's going to be held in Utah. And I did the last video, the early prelims and the prelims. This is going to be just the main card, all 5 fights. Let's start off with the first bout on the main card, which is Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. Michael Chiesa has 18 wins, 6 losses, whereas Kevin Holland has 24 wins and 9 losses, 1 no contest. Michael Chiesa's last fight is a loss. Kevin Holland's last fight is a win, both fighting out of the United States. There's a 2-inch height advantage for Kevin Holland. Michael Chiesa 6'1", Kevin Holland 6'3". They both weigh in at approximately 170.5. Their reach is vast in difference. Kevin Holland has a 5.5-inch reach advantage over Michael Chiesa, and Michael Chiesa has a 3-inch leg reach advantage over Kevin Holland, which is a little weird considering the height and the reach in arm's length. But Michael Chiesa is known for being mostly a wrestler, except he has good striking, so you can't count that out. He has 0 wins by TKO, whereas Kevin Holland has 58% by TKO. Almost all of Michael Chiesa's wins are either by submission or decision, and Kevin Holland has 25% by sub and 17% by decision. Average fight time is 9 minutes and 54 seconds, whereas Kevin Holland is 11 minutes and 18 seconds. Knockdown average per 15, 0.09 for Michael Chiesa and 0.35 for Kevin Holland. So he's getting hit approximately four times more than Kevin Holland's hitting people 4 times more per 15 than Michael Chiesa is. Let's see, significant strikes, 1.88 for landed per minute for Michael Chiesa, whereas Kevin Holland is 4.12, so almost a little over 2.5, or a little over 2.25 for Kevin Holland. Significant strikes, 41% for Michael Chiesa, 52% for Kevin Holland. Absorbed per minute, 1.67, which is very good. And Kevin Holland is 2.98, so almost 3 strikes land on him per minute. Defense is 54% to Kevin Holland's 52. Grappling, takedown average per 15, 3.39 for Michael Chiesa to just 0.84 for Kevin Holland. So he's taking down people almost 2.75, let's say, times per 15 to Kevin Holland's. Takedown actually 54% to 41. Takedown defense 60% for Michael Chiesa to just 50% for Kevin Holland. Submission average 0.98 per 15 for Michael Chiesa and 0.49 for Kevin Holland. Let's look at the odds. The odds aren't bad. They favor Kevin Holland. If this goes to the decision, which I could see either Kevin Holland knocking Michael Chiesa out or Michael Chiesa grinding out a decision. Those are the 2 paths to victory for either fighter, I believe. I think the best bet on this fight is to bet the over 1.5, because if you look, they both are making it more than 7.5 minutes in their average fight time. So it would be a fairly good pick for either guy to win over 1.5. So let's start with Michael Chiesa. He has tight strikes. He comes out to fight, but with patience, calculated, good wrestling and BJJ, able to get taken down, but the right fight, Kevin's coming out to bang. So if Chiesa can incorporate kicks and punches, he's no rookie. But Kevin is, I believe, can have a lot of success. It's at the end of the day who's the most hungry, focused, and is there to enforce their will. I will pick Kevin Holland. I'm leaning towards Holland, but let's not forget Chiesa is a legend, so it's very live. I just feel Kevin is on a path, and he will outwork Michael Chiesa, and I respect Chiesa. Again, he's a legend. Kevin Holland, great kickboxing. He's underrated if he can keep up with his opponents, and his dirty boxing is his strength. he's impressive with his fight IQ. I would bet over 1.5. That's definitely live, or money line Kevin Holland. It's a gamble, but the over is definitely live. It has 26 wins and 8 losses. Bobby Green has 29 wins with 14 losses, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. The last fight for both fighters, Tony Ferguson lost. Bobby Green had a no contest. He had that headbutt with the guy that fought Paddy Pimblett. I forget his name at the moment. Both fighting out of the United States. Tony Ferguson has a 1-inch height advantage, 5'11" to 5'10". Tony's usually fighting at 170 to 155, but this weight says 170. Bobby Green is 156. Their reach, Tony Ferguson has about a 5.5-inch reach advantage and a 0.5 leg reach advantage, 40.5 to just 40. Let's see what they win by. So 50% of the time, Tony's winning by KO. 34% of the time, Bobby Green's winning by KO. 31% of the times, Tony's winning by submission. 28% of the time for Bobby Green. 19% goes to decision for Tony Ferguson, and 38% goes for Bobby Green. Average fight time is really close, 11 minutes 20 seconds to Bobby Green's 11 minutes 50 seconds. Average knockdown per 15, 0.19 for Tony Ferguson compared to 0.22 for Bobby Green. Pretty close. I think this is another live one for the over because of their combined fight time, average fight times. Strikes landed per minute, about 5 for Tony Ferguson, a little over, tiny bit, to Bobby Green's 5.97, so almost 6. Significant strikes landed. Tony Ferguson has 45% to 51% for Bobby Green. 3.95 absorbed per minute for Tony Ferguson, so almost 4 times a minute he's getting hit, whereas Bobby Green's closer to 3.5 or 3 3/4 for Bobby Green. Defense 58 to 62, very close there. The grappling takedown average is 0.44 for Tony per 15 to 1.28 for Bobby Green. Takedown accuracy 41% for Tony to just 37% for Bobby Green. Not that far off. Takedown defense, however, 66% for Tony Ferguson, 72% for Bobby Green. So Bobby Green has a really good takedown defense. That's basically what the stats are saying. He's almost 75% in his takedown defense. Submission average 1 per 15 to just 0.28, which is about close to a quarter per 15. So yeah, I think, however, the odds are a little bit farther apart than I would like. I think Bobby Green should be around minus 200, minus 250, to Tony being probably like minus 150 at the most, just because unless you impose your will on Tony, he's not going anywhere. Like the front kick that Michael Chandler had on him is the one time I believe he's been KO'd like unequivocally. Let's get to the notes though. So for Tony Ferguson, let's start by saying this man is a true legend. His pre-fight press conferences are always hilarious. His ability to take crazy damage while returning the favor. I respect this man so much. The video of him getting kicked in the face, he's like a steel pole. Force shows he's a boogeyman. For sure, we will see Saturday where he's at, physically and mentally, all that. So, yeah, I think Tony just depends on the night he's having. If he's having a good night, he could go out there and have a huge upset. Where Bobby Green, tight in his approach, his confidence is on a Conor McGregor level. Usually fights begin with his hands at his waist, and that usually continues through most of the fight. He's extremely fast-paced, but can be touched. If he's going to win, which I see about 60-35 in favor to win, but again, over 1.5 is my bet. You could pick Green or in a parlay. That's pretty live, but you won't get your best money, but he has to be ready for Tony Ferguson on Saturday night, and I think it's all going to be dictated on how Tony fights. So the over 1.5, I think, is a fair and strong bet. I think it's a lock. If you disagree, comment. Like if you agree with what I'm saying, or disagree, dislike. Don't like the comment. But comment your opinions. Let me know what you guys think. Next up, we got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Michel Pereira. Stephen Thompson has 17 wins, 6 losses with 1 draw, whereas Michel Pereira has 28 wins, 11 losses, and 2 no contests. Most of their last fights they've won. United States for Stephen Thompson, Brazil for Michel Pereira, 6 foot to 6'1" in favor of Pereira. The reach is 2 inches for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at 75 to just 73 for Michel. Not a big difference, but 3 inches could, be a deciding factor in getting in there, hitting, getting out, all that. Their leg reach is identical, so that is their stats for that. 47% of the time, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's winning by KO. 37% of the time for Michel Pereira. Subs 6% for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Michel has 26% by submission, and this is, I think, another over 1.5 rounds. For this reason, 47% go to decision, 37% go to decision for Michel. Average fight time is 14 minutes and 51 seconds for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and Michel Pereira is 13 minutes and 4 seconds. Average knockdown per 15 is 0.53, so half the time he's getting a knockdown. I would assume that's what that means. And Michel Pereira is 0.29, so a little over a quarter of the time he's getting a knockdown. Significant strikes landed per minute, 4.2 for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 5.09, so almost 1 more strike per minute. The significant strikes are 45% for Stephen and 54% for Michel. Absorbed per minute, 3.04 for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and 3.78 for Michel Pereira. So he's getting hit about almost 1 more time per minute. Almost. Not quite, but pretty close to it. The defense is 55% to 58% for Michel. Grappling, takedown average per 15.27 is Wonderboy's takedown average per 15 to 1.58 for Michel. Takedown accuracy, 41% for Wonderboy and 55% for Michel. Takedown defense is pretty lopsided, 64%, which is a really good takedown defense, but Michel's is 94%. Submission average 0 per 15 for Wonderboy and 0.57 for Michel, so about half the time he's getting a takedown. Let's look at the odds. The odds are in favor of Wonderboy. I can see why. His fight against Kevin Holland shows that he's still in the game, still got it. But I think if you want a guaranteed bet, over 1.5, because these guys, they do both possess knockout power, but I think they're going to be careful. The fight's going to start slow, with each other, trying to figure each other out. And as you can see right here and right here, they're usually going over 7.5 minutes. And I know that that's been my bet mostly for this card, but I just don't see this fight not going over 7.5 rounds. Maybe Michel gets him in the late in the second, or vice versa. But that's my opinion. So Stephen has amazing kickboxing ability with good takedown defense. As of late, he's fight against Kevin Holland was impressive. I think he matches up well against Michel Pereira. Both like exchanging on the feet. I could see them both trying to take one another down. I think it'll be a big test for both fighters. I think if he does what he did to Kevin Holland, and for that reason, I believe if he wins, it would be over 1.5. Now for Michel Pereira, he's strong on the feet and decent on the ground. I believe if he believes he's going to win, it will happen. If he doesn't believe that, I think if he doesn't have 100% faith in himself, I think Wonder Boy's going to capitalize on that. Again, the over 1.5 is a strong lock. It's going to be a war for both fighters. I think one person dominates, then that person is probably live for a knockout. I'm not going to bet the money line on either fighter, but I probably will bet the over 1.5. Michel is a dog who's down to fight, so we will see what happens. And then next up, we have the light heavyweight championship on the line with Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. So Jan's record is 29-9-1, whereas Alex is 7-2. Jan Blachowicz's last fight was a draw. I believe that was against Magomed Ankalaev, but don't quote me on that. And Alex Pereira's last fight, he lost against Israel Adesanya, knocked out in the first round. One comes from Poland, the other comes from Brazil. Jan is 6'2", whereas Alex is 6'4". His normal fighting weight was 185 because they wanted that Izzy fight, and Jan's normal fighting weight is 205. So in reach, it's about identical. Alex Pereira has 1 inch at 79 to 78. They both have 44-inch leg reach. So let's see what the stats are. They win 31% of the time. Jan wins by TKO. 31% of the time, he wins by sub. And 38% of the time, he wins by decision. Meaning, I think they both start off, rather slow, and it's calculated. It's not that they're boring fighters. They just want to kind of learn their opponent's movements and capitalize on what they see. 86% of the time, Alex is winning by knockout, 0% for subs, and 14% go to decision. Average fight time is 13 minutes for Jan Blachowicz, whereas Alex Pereira's 10 minutes 51 seconds. Average knockdown per 15, 0.36 to 0.55. So Jan's getting a knockdown, one in 3 fights, that looks like, and Alex is getting one every 2 fights. That would be my assumption. So with that, I would say the best bet on this would be the fight doesn't go to decision, because it's going to be a title fight. It's going to go 5 rounds, and I think someone's either going to get knocked out or someone's going to get submitted, and I don't see Alex submitting him, although he's worked with Glover Teixeira for a while now. I think Jan's experience in the cage will just give him a little bit of an advantage, but I could see this fight going a number of ways. So I think your lock is to go not going to decision, and that will pay out 9 times out of 10. So significant strikes landed per minute, 3.41 for Jan Blachowicz to 5.23 for Alex Pereira. That's close to 2 more punches per minute for Alex. Significant strikes, 49% to 59%. That's 10% difference. That's pretty big. Absorbed per minute, 2.81 for Jan Blachowicz to 3.76 for Alex Pereira. Now this is where I think the fight is going to be dictated, because both fighters possess, the Polish power versus the knockout expertise of Alex. I think getting clipped will probably happen at some point in this fight. By who, I'm not sure. Unless Jan decides to grind him out on the ground, and you believe that, which I think is a high likelihood, I would parlay the fight to go the distance and not to go to the distance. I would favor more not going the distance, but you can parlay that, so you would mix match it with another parlay and do 2 bets where he wins, where it doesn't go the distance, and where it goes the distance. Their striking defense is identical at 54%. Now let's look at the grappling, because this is where Alex could struggle. Takedown average 0.97 per 15, so almost one takedown every 15 minutes to just 0.28 for Alex. So it looks like Alex is 3/4 behind Jan Blachowicz. Takedown accuracy, though, he's at 100% when he takes people down to just 53%, which Jan has a ton of fights. I mean, look at how many fights this guy has. He has 39 fights. So 53% takedown accuracy is good. That means that more than 50% of the time he's getting the takedown, whereas Alex doesn't. He came from kickboxing, so he doesn't have a ton of ring time like Jan, or octagon time like Jan does. Takedown defense 68%, which is really good considering how many fights Jan has, to just a whopping 73% for Alex. I think that's accredited to Glover Teixeira. He definitely is probably helping him work on that as much as he can. 0 submission average per 15 for Alex, and 0.24. So every, say, 4 fights, he's getting a submission, or working to get a submission. Let's look at the odds. The odds are pretty good. I know Alex was plus money before Saturday, and now he's minus money. And it's a pick 'em, man. But I think best 2 locks of this fight are over 1.5, or the fight doesn't go to decision. I would strongly suggest you put fight doesn't go to the decision, and I would parlay that because it's probably going to be a big number in the negatives. So I would probably pick that if you want the lock, and then if you want another approach, you could do over 1.5. And I let's see, their average fight time is over 7.5 minutes, so that is highly likely. So yeah, let's look at the notes. Jan Blachowicz, the Polish, he showed his ground game, and it was on display against Izzy. He had a draw against Magomed Ankalaev, that's what I thought, which shows his ability in the fight. In that fight, I think it won't go the distance. That's my safety bet. But I give the fight to Jan. The knockout is there for both fighters, but I think the experience for Jan can edge a finish. 5 rounds, something that will be a highlight. 5 rounds is something that I believe will be a highlight for the UFC catalog. Now let's get to Alex Pereira. He does one thing, like the Molly McCann fight, the chick where Julia Stoliarenko, she can get arm bars, that's her thing. Knocking out people, that's what Alex does. So if you can negate the knockout from Alex, which he has such good boxing IQ and even kickboxing IQ. Saying, oh, you just take him down and you're good, that's not necessarily the case, because as you saw with Izzy had him almost in the first fight, almost had him out in the first round, and then he came back to, for war, and he won. So, and they both got takedowns in that fight. Granted, Jan took Izzy down and held him down. Jan and Alex will come to fight. Alex is better standing than Jan, but Jan can do both, meaning wrestling and striking. I truly believe the fight will end before 5 rounds. Comment below if you disagree, or comment below if you agree. So that's it. That's the fights. Oh, whoops. We have one more fight. And I did not write any notes for this fight, which is unfortunate. Give me a minute. Nope, no fights. Oh, here we go. Okay, so the featured fight of the night, the main card, main event, is Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje 2. They've already fought. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you watch it because it'll give you an idea of what this fight is most likely going to look like. Let's start off with the records. 29-7 and 1 no contest, 25-4. So Justin has about 8 fights less than Dustin. They both won their last fights, both fighting out of the United States. Justin fights, I believe, in Utah, where the card's being held at the Delta Center. He doesn't fight at the Delta Center, but that's where the fight is. And Dustin Poirier is 5'9", Justin Gaethje is 5'11". When they're in the cage, man, I can't tell that he's 2 inches taller. I mean, I guess 2 inches isn't that much, but 6'2" to 6'4", like Jan and Alex, I think you would see a little bit of a difference. Dustin has a reach advantage of 2 inches and a leg reach advantage of just a half an inch. Let's see what they're winning by. So 54% of the time, Dustin's winning by TKO, and 79% of the time, Justin's winning by TKO. Dustin has 21% submissions and just 4% for Justin. 25% go to decision for Dustin and 17 for Justin. Average fight time is 10 minutes 6 seconds, identical 10 minutes 6 seconds. Average knockdown almost identical as well, per 15 at 0.64 to Justin's 0.67. So I think because of that, again, I think Dustin wins here like he did last time, but I think this one's live to go over 1.5. And if you incorporate all the over 1.5s in this card and you leave a few out here and there, some are guaranteed. Like I can almost guarantee you that that Jan Blachowicz and Alex Pereira don't go to decision. That's a lock for me. And I believe that this goes over 1.5, even 2.5, to be honest with you, because Dustin didn't get him out until the 4th and the last. But both guys are live for a knockout early and late. So I think your safe bet is over 1.5. And if you parlay that with all the ones that I've given you, especially because the last fight, Jan and Alex, they're going 5 rounds. So they're not going to push the pace, a crazy pace, super early, which will edge out at least 7 minutes and 30 seconds to 1.5 rounds. So that's my opinion on the bets. Landed per minute 5.51 for Dustin to 7.38. So that's a little over two punches, or a little under 2 punches per minute. Significant strikes 50% for Dustin to 60% for Justin. 4.25 absorbed per minute for Dustin to 7.66. So the dude's getting hit almost, over 7.5 times per minute. That's a lot of punishment. The defense is 54% in favor of Dustin, but Dustin's only behind by 1% for 53. Takedown average 1.39 per 15 for Dustin to just 0.13 for Justin. Dustin. Tongue twister, man. Takedown accuracy 36% for Dustin to 25% for Justin. Takedown defense 63% for Dustin to 75% for Justin. And submission average is 1.24 per 15. So he's getting about 1.25 takedowns per 15. Let's look at the odds. Damn, Justin's gone all the way up to minus 150. I should have bet him when he was at 125, because it started off, I believe Justin was at plus 100 and Dustin was plus minus 125. But that's neither here nor there. So it's the past. What can you do? Let's go to the notes. So Dustin Poirier, his fight IQ and ability to track and follow every movement while simultaneously throwing and getting good position is on a whole nother level. I believe outside of Charles and Islam, and probably Volk as well. I'm just saying. He's number 2 in the world. I see this fight similar to his last fight with Justin. However, don't ever doubt Justin. Ever. All caps. It's going to be a war, so be ready for it. Like I said, the over 1.5 is a lock. So Justin Gaethje, the legend, man, the highlight reel. The dog went in the cage. Closes the distance well, and he wants violence. But the skills to go with it make for either domination or war. I would normally pick Justin, but his last fight with Dustin leaves a lot of question marks. And like I said, I will go with Dustin on this one. But the safe bet is over 1.5. You could, if you're feeling lucky, you could even do over 2.5, because I don't see either fighter losing in the first 12.5 minutes. I think they're just both too good at what they do. Now, that's not my lock. My lock is over 1.5, but I think live is over 2.5. And if you want to bet money line and just do it that way, I would go for Dustin. But the safe pick is over 1.5. Tell me what you think.